Chapter 10. Take baby steps. You've got to walk before you can run. Most of us have heard the saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Instead, I would say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a baby step. I emphasize this because I have seen too many people attempt to take a great leap forward instead of starting with baby steps. We have all seen people who are completely out of shape and suddenly decide to lose 20 pounds. They begin a crash diet, go to the gym for 2 hours, and then jog 10 miles. This lasts maybe a week. They lose a few pounds, and then the pain, boredom, and hunger begin to wear away at their willpower and determination. By the third week, their old habits of overeating, avoiding exercise, and watching television are back in control. Instead of taking a great leap forward, I strongly recommend taking a baby step forward. Long-term financial success is not measured by how big your stride is, but by the number of steps, the number of years, and the direction in which you're moving. That is the formula for success or failure in any endeavor. When it comes to money, I've seen too many people, myself included, attempt to do too much with too little, and then crash and burn. It's hard to take a baby step forward when you first need a ladder to get yourself out of the financial hole you have dug for yourself. How do you eat an elephant? This section of the book describes 7 steps to guide you on your path to the right side of the cash flow quadrant. With the help of my rich dad, I have worked and acted on these steps since I was 9 years old, and I will continue to follow them for as long as I live. For some people, the steps may seem overwhelming, and they will be if you try to do them all in 1 week. So please begin with baby steps. We have all heard the saying, Rome was not built in a day. The saying I use whenever I find myself feeling overwhelmed by how much I have to learn is, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is, 1 bite at a time. And that is how I recommend you proceed if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by how much you may have to learn in order to make the journey from the E and S side to the B and I side of the cash flow quadrant. Please be kind to yourself and realize that the transition is more than just a mental one. It involves emotional learning. After you take baby steps for 6 months to a year, you're ready to move to walking, and then to running. You've got to walk before you can run. This is the path I recommend. If you don't like this path, then you can do what millions of other people do who want to get rich quickly the fast and easy way, which is to buy a lottery ticket. Who knows? It might be your lucky day. Action beats inaction. To me, one of the primary reasons E's and S's have difficulty moving to the B and I side is because they are too afraid of making mistakes. They often say, I have a fear of failing, or I need more information, or can you recommend another book? Their fear or self-doubt is keeping them trapped in their quadrant. I hope that by reading each step, and by completing the action steps that appear at the end of each step in the Take Action section, you will keep moving toward the B and I side. Just doing these 7 steps will open up whole new worlds of possibility and change. Then just keep taking small baby steps. Nike's slogan, "Just do it," says it best. Unfortunately, our schools also say, "Don't make mistakes." Millions of highly educated people who want to take action are paralyzed by the emotional fear of making mistakes. One of the most important lessons I have learned as a teacher is that true learning requires mental, emotional, and physical learning. That is why action always beats inaction. If you take action and make a mistake, at least you have learned something, be it mentally, emotionally, or physically. A person who continually searches for the right answer is often afflicted with a disease known as analysis paralysis, which seems to affect many well-educated people. Ultimately, the way we learn is by making mistakes. We learn to walk and ride a bicycle by falling down and then getting back up. People who are afraid of taking action, out of fear of making mistakes, may be mentally smart, but they are also emotionally and physically handicapped. A number of years ago, there was a study done of rich and poor all around the world to find out how people born into poverty eventually become wealthy. The study found that these people, regardless of where they live, possess 3 qualities. 1. They maintain a long-term vision and plan. 2. They believe in delayed gratification. 3. They use the power of compounding in their favor. The study found that these people thought and planned for the long term and knew that they would ultimately achieve financial success by holding to a dream or a vision. They were willing to make short-term sacrifices to gain long-term success, which is the basis of delayed gratification. Albert Einstein was amazed at how money could multiply just by the power of compounding. He considered the compounding of money to be one of the most amazing inventions. This study took compounding beyond money and found that knowledge and learning gained from each baby step also compounded over the years. People who took no steps at all did not have the leverage of a magnified accumulation of knowledge and experience that comes from compounding. The study also found what caused people to go from wealthy to poor. There are many rich families who lose most of their wealth after only 3 generations. Not surprisingly, the study found that these people possess the following 3 qualities. 1. They have short-term vision. 2. They have a desire for immediate gratification. 3. They abuse the power of compounding. Today I meet people who get frustrated with me because they want me to tell them how they can make more money immediately. They don't like the idea of thinking long-term. Many are desperately seeking short-term answers because they have money problems today caused by consumer debt and lack of investments due to their uncontrolled desire for immediate gratification. They have the idea of, eat, drink, and be merry. This abuses the power of compounding and leads to long-term debt instead of long-term wealth. They want the quick answer. They want me to tell them what to do to acquire great wealth. But they need to understand who they must become first. In other words, too many people are fixated upon the get-rich-quick philosophy of life. I wish these people luck. They're going to need it. A hot tip. Most of us have heard that people who write down their goals are more likely to achieve them. I have attended many seminars and training sessions on the topic of goal setting, and I learned a concept that I have thought about many times over the years. While it is great to have big long-term dreams and wishes, attaining those dreams is a process made up of many small steps. Instead of trying to be an overachiever, be an underachiever. Be content with small steps, because each one moves you closer to your big goals and dreams. Even today, I find I achieve more by having an underachiever mindset instead of trying to kill myself and be that overachiever. An example of the way I underachieve is that I set a written goal to listen to 2 audio tapes a week. I may listen to the same one 2 or more times if it's good, but it still counts towards my weekly goal. Kim and I also have a written goal to attend at least seminars a year on subjects about the B and I quadrants. We go on vacations with people who are experts on subjects found in the B and I quadrants. We learn a lot while playing, resting, and dining out. We achieve more with a lot less stress. Those are ways of underachieving and yet still moving toward big, bold dreams. The key to making any investment is setting a big goal and approaching it systematically, taking baby steps first and then gradually increasing the size of your investments as your learning and experience increase. You will want to push yourself beyond your comfort zone, but gradually. That is how Kim and I did it. There is nothing wrong with having smaller goals that lead up to the ultimate goal of financial freedom. The same thing applies to getting into good physical shape. I work out with a tough trainer who pushes me to achieve smaller goals on a daily or a weekly basis. They increase in intensity as my abilities improve, and together they lead up to achieving my big goal. So dream big, daring dreams, and then underachieve a little bit each day. I recommend setting attainable daily goals that, when achieved, provide positive reinforcement to help you stay on the path to the big goal of moving from the left side of the cash flow quadrant to the right side. If you want to be rich, you've got to change your rules. I have often been quoted as saying, "The rules have changed." When people hear these words, they nod their head in agreement and say, "Yes, the rules have changed. Nothing is the same anymore." But then they go on and do the same old thing. Industrial age financial statements. When I teach how to get your financial life in order, I start by asking students to fill out a personal financial statement. It often becomes a life-changing experience. Financial statements are much like X-rays. Both let you see what your unassisted eye cannot see. After filling out their statements, it is easy to see who has financial cancer and who is financially healthy. Almost always, the ones with financial cancer are those with industrial age ideas. Why do I say that? Because in the industrial age, people did not have to think about tomorrow. If you worked hard, your employer or the government would take care of all your tomorrows. That is why so many of my friends and family always told me to get a job with the government or to make sure I got a job with an excellent retirement plan. Those are words of advice based on industrial age rules and an entitlement mentality. Although the rules have changed, many people have not changed their financial rules. They are still spending like there's no need to plan for tomorrow. When I read a person's financial statement, it is easy to see what tomorrow might look like for them. What does your tomorrow look like? Keeping things simple, this is what I look for in a personal financial statement. People with no assets that generate cash flow are likely to have tomorrows that are filled with struggles and stress. When I find people who have no assets, they are usually working hard for a paycheck to pay their bills. If you look at most people's expense columns, the two biggest monthly expenses are taxes and debt service for long-term liabilities. Their expense statements look like this. In other words, the government and the bank get paid before they do. People who cannot get control of their cash flow generally have no financial future and will find themselves in serious trouble in the next few years. Why? A person who only operates in the E quadrant has little protection from taxes and debt. Even an S can do something about these two financial cancers. If this doesn't make sense to you, I would suggest reading or rereading Rich Dad Poor Dad, which should make this and the next few chapters easier to understand. 3 Cash flow patterns. As stated in Rich Dad Poor Dad, there are 3 basic cash flow patterns, one for the rich, one for the poor, and one for the middle class. This is the cash flow pattern of the poor. This is the cash flow pattern of the middle class. This cash flow pattern is considered typical and smart by our society. After all, the people who have this pattern probably have high-paying jobs, nice homes, cars, and credit cards. This is what my rich dad called the working class dream. When adults play my cash flow board game, they usually struggle mentally. Why? Because they are being introduced to financial literacy, which means understanding the numbers and words of money. The game takes several hours to play, not because it is long, but because the players are learning a completely new subject. It is almost like learning a foreign language. But the good news is that this new literacy can be learned quickly, and then the game picks up speed. The more frequently people play the game, the smarter and faster they get, and they have fun in the process. Something else all happens. Because they are becoming financially literate, many begin to realize that they are in financial trouble, even though the rest of society thinks they are well off. A middle-class cash flow pattern used to work in the industrial age, but it could be disastrous in the information age. Many people, once they successfully learn and understand the cash flow game, begin to seek new answers. Playing the game becomes a financial wake-up call about their personal financial health, just as a mild heart attack is an alert about a person's physical health. After playing cash flow several times, some people begin to change their thinking pattern to that of the rich. This is the cash flow pattern of the rich. This is the thought pattern Rich Dad wanted his son and I to have as young children, which is why he took away our paychecks and refused to give us raises. He never wanted us to become addicted to the idea of a high-paying job. He wanted us to develop the thought pattern of thinking only in assets and income in the form of capital gains, dividends, rental income, and residual income from businesses and royalties. For people who want to be successful in the information age, the faster they develop their financial and emotional intelligence, the faster they will feel more financially secure and find financial freedom. In a world of less and less job security, this cash flow pattern makes much more sense to me. And to achieve this pattern, a person needs to see the world from the B and I quadrants, not from the E and S quadrants. I also call this an information age financial statement because the income is generated strictly from information, not hard work. In the information age, the idea of hard work is not the same as it was in the agrarian and industrial ages. In the information age, the people who work the hardest physically will be paid the least. It is already true today and has been true throughout history. However, today when people say, "Don't work hard," Work smart, they do not mean to work smart in the E or S quadrants. They actually mean to work smart in the B or I quadrants. That is information age thinking, which is why financial and emotional intelligence are vital today and will be even more so in the future. So what is the answer? Obviously, my answer is to re-educate yourself to think like a rich person. In other words, think and look at the world from the B or I quadrant. However, the solution is not as simple as going back to school and taking a few courses. To be successful in the B or I quadrant requires financial intelligence, systems intelligence, and emotional intelligence. These things cannot be learned in school. The reason these intelligences are hard to learn is because most adults are wired to the hard work and spend mode of life. When they feel financial anxiety, they hurry off to work and work hard. They come home and hear about the stock market going up and down. Their anxiety grows, so they go shopping for a new house or car, or they play golf to avoid the anxiety. The problem is that the anxiety returns on Monday morning. How do you start thinking like a rich person? People often ask me how to get started thinking like a rich person. I always recommend starting small and seeking education, rather than running out and jumping into investing. If they are serious about learning and retraining themselves to think like a rich person, I recommend my cash flow board game. I created the game to help teach financial intelligence. It gives people the mental, physical, and emotional training that is required to make the gradual change from thinking like a poor or middle class person to thinking like a rich person. It teaches people to think about what my rich dad said was important, which is not a large paycheck or a big house, but the accumulation of cash producing assets. Cash flow, not money, relieves anxiety. Financial struggle and poverty are really financial anxiety problems. There are mental and emotional loops that keep people stuck in what I call the rat race. Unless the mental and emotional hooks are broken, the pattern remains intact. I worked with a banker to break his pattern of financial struggle. While I'm certainly not a therapist, I have had experience breaking my own financial habits instilled by my family. The banker made a good living, but was always in some sort of financial trouble. He had a beautiful family, 3 cars, a big house, and a vacation home. To the world, he looked like a prosperous banker, but when I looked at his financial statement, I discovered he had a financial cancer that would be terminal in a few years if he did not change his ways. The first time he and his wife played cash flow, he struggled and fidgeted almost uncontrollably. His mind wandered, and he could not seem to grasp the game. After 4 hours of play, he was still stuck. Everyone else had completed the game, but he was still in the rat race. As we put the game away, I asked him what was going on. His only answer was that the game was too slow, and too boring. I reminded him about
Oh.